Hey, there's your beautiful face. Good to see you. Welcome to Too Smart to Be This Tired. My goal today is to really help you get to a point where you can shift from being in intellectual overdrive to really tapping into your subconscious power. And I'm going to help you work directly with your subconscious mind. So we're going to rewire any kind of internal narratives that you're currently struggling with through autosuggestion, which I'll go over in a second. And I'm also going to help you create safety in your body through breathwork. And we're going to use some somatic reflection to access some leadership states so that you can use these tools in the future as well, too. Your subconscious mind governs 95% of your behavior. And without engaging with it, your conscious strategies won't stick. So my goal with you today is to help you not be addicted to productivity. I want you to get more clarity, and I want you to restore safety in your body, and I want you to be aligned with your energetic truth. So real quick, I want to explain what autosuggestions are. Have you heard of autosuggestions before? If so, yes, no, all good. It's essentially an intentional present tense phrase that's designed to bypass the critical mind, and it's designed to help you program your subconscious for a desired state. So when you repeat it with emotion and belief, it helps you form new neural pathways that will help you influence your decision making, your behavior, and any kind of leadership energy that you have. There's some research that's been done from the Journal of Behavioral Therapy. It was 2022 that found that daily autosuggestion actually improved your self-efficacy by 37%, and it helped reduce anxiety. And this is something that high performer leaders are looking for. With that said, I want to give you two auto suggestions. I'll put them in the chat too. So if you want to copy and paste them, you can. We're going to start with, I am open to receiving insight that shifts how I lead, and it is safe to slow down and reflect. I'm putting it in the chat for you too. So I am open to receiving insight that shifts how I lead, and it is safe to slow down and reflect. Okay, we're going to start with a breathing exercise. Before we get started, I want you to just start focusing on your breath in general. Take a little bit of a deeper breath in through your nose. Maybe feel if your stomach, your belly is rising and falling, and then take an exhale out through your mouth. So deep inhale in through your nose, exhale out through your mouth. Just do this a few more times. And I'd like for you to repeat. On your inhale, I reclaim my energy. And on your exhale, I release what's not mine to carry. Today, I want to help you get really clear on what your energetic truth is, because that's going to be where you find your productivity. That's where your clarity is going to be. We've all been told a lie about leadership. I'm sure you can relate with this. The more you do, the more you matter. And it's a lie, and it's sabotage on some level. And some of us subscribe to it so intently that we lose sight of the underbelly of what actually truly matters. I can tell you a little bit of a story for myself just to help give you a little bit of clarity of why I'm here, why I'm passionate about teaching this. It was around 2015-ish. My daughter was already 2 years old at that age, and I knew I wanted more for my life. I had just left her father, and it was a really hard time for me. But as I was getting really clear on the things that I wanted and what I didn't want, and I took an intentional deep dive into my life, I stopped going out and partying and drinking, all of that when my daughter was born, but just doubled down even more when I left her father. I knew that if I wanted her to have a good future in my eyes, that I needed to lead by example. I need to show her through my actions because I could tell her all day to do XYZ, but if I'm not doing it myself, she's not going to listen to me. So I really did the work that I had been avoiding to do for years, my entire life up to that point. And part of that was wanting more from my life. And I realized through this process that I wanted to look into entrepreneurship. I wanted to look into even leadership and owning a business. And I started finding opportunities everywhere. It was 2018 when I started really doing more research and I started my first business. Technically my second. I was a birthing doula when my daughter was born. So I got my first taste of business ownership, but I took a pause from that. 2018, I started real estate investing and I found a group that I resonated with, invested a lot. And one of the first things that they said, I'll never forget, it's partially why I'm passionate about this class, is if you don't go all in, then you're not serious about what you're doing. And I had already known, right? My energy was already an all in. I had literally been running a marathon since my daughter was born to try to get past these patterns and these trauma uh generational patterns in my family, right? So that she wouldn't have to be repeating any of that unnecessarily. And they were like, go all in or else you're not serious about this and you're not going to be successful. So I took that to heart and literally jumped in head first, went in 500 different directions. I think it was 2021. We all remember what happened in 2020. 2021, I had my first really big business failure. I won't go into too much detail. It's a little unnecessary, but basically was swindled by a mentor, taken advantage of. I was dealing with my dad having a stroke simultaneously. I also was pursued by a predator and I'm in my weakest state. He basically made my life a living hell for about a year, which all translated into me having extreme PTSD on the onset of 2022. I had to stop working. From the stress alone, I was getting stroke-like symptoms in my body. And that woke me up. That's when I thought I was getting clear before, but it was all superficial. I was reading books and I was running, but I wasn't stopping to look in the mirror and really look at the details of what I was doing so that I could avoid what I had just gone through. God had to put me up against a wall first and say, look, you've got to stop running. This isn't working. This is not sustainable. And so that's what I did. I worked hard and I rested hard for about a year. I was still working, but it was more play and pleasure than it was hustle, if that makes any sense. And I saw a coach that does the exact work that I do during that time and helped me through my PTSD symptoms. Thank God. Thank God. I do not even recognize myself today versus that version of me, right? Before 2021. And I want to help people not have the same issues that I have. I don't want anyone to have health issues from all the stress that they've endured. And there's so much more to the story that I could share. We'll do that another day, another time if it's necessary. But I've been through this. I've walked through the fire and I'm on the other side intentionally to help people avoid a lot of the mistakes that I made and that I see other people making and that I coach other people through. With that said, I've came up with a theory that a lot of what gets us into this state is being on some level subconsciously addicted to chaos. So I created what's called the chaos loop. And the science behind it essentially says that when you regularly have these cortisol and adrenaline spikes within your body, it's conditioning your brain to then associate this kind of stress with success or with doing the right thing. So when you're calm, it feels weird because your body's like, what are you doing? Why are you not doing anything? What is this? And so you create chaos. So that's where I came up with this chaos loop. And psychology has their labels. That's cool. I like to simplify things. So, the goal for me, for you, is to help you decondition yourself from chaos. And the way to do that is to get very, very clear on why and what and how it's happening for you. So, essentially, the dance we're going to do today is looking at those details. So, I'm curious if any of this resonates with you. So, the loop is what's shown here below, and it's kind of almost identical, almost, if not identical, to the story that I just shared. So, running a marathon to reach your goals, run, 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 reading this, listening to this podcast, going to this networking event, calling this person, whatever it looks like for you. We're all different. Just that constant movement, which then turns into burnout, which then turns into guilt. Like, oh man, I'm not doing the work I need to do, because you're now feeling that feeling of calm because you're forced there. And you're like, why am I not doing work? So you start to overcompensate. So you run, 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 run. You're over function stage, right? So instead of being too much here or too much here, you want to get somewhere in the middle, an area where you're more aligned with what you want, saying no a little bit more often. So boundaries are essential here, right?
Yes.
Saying yes to the things that make the most sense to you instead of yes, 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 whatever it is.
Mhm.
In order to do this, in order to exit this loop, we need to really understand how this addiction is impacting you now. And we're going to identify the triggers that make your chaos loop worse. Man, I have so many examples. One, for instance, for me, I'll say that I struggled to sit still a lot, a lot. Now, if I'm not meditating enough, I'm not taking enough time to rest, now I feel uncomfortable. Whereas before it was, okay, what is it that's triggering me to like do all of this unnecessary scrolling and research when I could literally be like meditating or spending time with a family member or a loved one, you know? And it took time for me to really encapsulate those two things and then actually get conscious about it. Like, okay, I'm doing that thing again. I'm gonna go spend time with a friend that I haven't seen in forever. Or I need to spend this time with my daughter because I don't want her to feel like her mom's always uh, a workaholic, right? So getting really clear on what triggers you to get in those states and recognizing your nervous system's urge for constant urgency. And this is what's going to help you. So let me make sure there's nothing else there that I wanted to point out. Yeah. So for me, and maybe this is something you'll relate with, because these patterns are often rooted in childhood. They're often rooted in the people around us, and oftentimes the people who, when we're young, we just soak up these patterns like a sponge. Both of my parents are workaholics. Both of my parents are recovering addicts in their own way, maybe not an extreme, but in enough for it to cause dysfunction, you know? And I had to figure out a lot of things on my own. I had to constantly make mistake after mistake, and they kept getting worse and worse and worse. And it's often rooted in childhood unpredictability, childhood neglect, or just having hypervigilance in general. So maybe a big traumatic event too. It's just our body's way of trying, our subconscious's way of trying to protect ourselves is to keep us in that state. And our amygdala confuses calm with danger. And adrenaline, like I mentioned, just then becomes our normal fuel. So, did you have a question?
No, I was gonna agree with what you were saying because I do find myself like in constant go mode. And in the past, my mom had a stroke when I was a teenager, and my father passed away as well, like 6 months later. So, and I'm the oldest of four. So I kind of went through a lot of different things. And so I find that I keep myself busy at times to ignore what's going on in my life. And then I find that I've been so busy, but I'm like, what do I have to show for it? And that's where my guilt goes into play. And then I go into the overcompensate. So now I'm like, let me get some things done so I have something to show for all this work I've been trying to do. So I'm constantly in that chaos loop. And I think it, like you said, it does stem from my childhood.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. And it's exactly how it manifests. That's exactly it. I'm sorry to hear about your passing of your father and the stroke from your mom. I know both of those things are very hard to deal with. But yeah, it's on some level without going too deep into it. Our unconscious mind is just trying to keep us safe. And until we become clear on these things, we can't consciously change it. So I'm glad you made it here today. This is a perfect time for you to dig a little bit deeper. Do you have a journal with you or anything that you can write down literally everything you just said?
Yeah, I could go get one.
Cool. So I would love for you to write down every detail about what you just said because today's goal is to get clear, right?
Uh-huh.
While you're doing that, I'm going to go over just a few more things before we push forward. And none of these things you need to write down. So the antidote for these things is to really do you know what somatic work is? Have you heard that statement before?
I've heard the word somatic, but um I'm not sure exactly what it means. Everything together.
So, me being the nerd that I am, did a deep dive in trauma and wanting to understand how to heal from it, especially when I was suffering the most from my PTSD. And in psychology, for a long time, they were helping people work through problems, but it was all cognitive, it was all mental. It was heavy thought processes, and they didn't look anywhere else. And it hasn't been until recent where people are actually starting to talk about somatic practices on a more of a mass appealing kind of way. It's not a new study. There's been somatic psychology for years, but people are just now starting to talk about it. And essentially what it means is that we are now aware that trauma is living within our nervous system. It lives within our bodies. Our bodies remember it and it holds on to it inside of our bodies. And so the antidote to what we're working on today would be somatic practices to where you're becoming very body aware. So, breath work, we started with a breathing exercise. That's one example, just getting really attuned to your breath, right? And then getting in touch with your body. Some people are really big on cold plunges. There's a lot. I'm a nerd with all this stuff. There's some evidence that shows that it could actually harm women's nervous system more than help. That's why I don't like giving like a one thing works for everyone type of advice because we're all completely different, number one. But what it does for women is it puts our nervous system in a state of hypervigilance. So then it actually brings us back to where we're trying to get away from. So if you do that, just make sure you're doing it with someone that understands that and any kind of nervous system downshifting. So do things that relax you. If you like to do massage, if you like to do yoga is a really good somatic exercise. It connects your mind and your body and it helps you release things from your body. And I don't know if you've ever practiced yoga, but sometimes you get into a pose and then like you feel something. There's no story going on. It's just like your body's like releasing it and I've heard of people just crying just because they like released something from a part of their body and there's no story there. It's like a pure emotional release. And so that's what the goal is to get this out without the negative story or narrative in the mind, right? Just get it out of your body and that's how we heal. And also another antidote would be subconscious rewiring, which is what I'm helping with. So using NLP, which is again what helped me so much during my worst days. Journaling. So it sounds so silly, but when you start to hear all of the most successful people saying it, you realize there's something to it. Just getting their journal out and writing things out, all of it. Don't leave any of it untouched. And just releasing things can be really healing. And we're going to do a visualization at the end. That's another way to subconscious rewire because your unconscious mind cannot tell the difference between what's imagined and what's real. So when you go through a visualization or a meditation, especially when you're co-regulating, so you're with like a coach like me, it's really powerful and it actually helps shift the entire state in your body. So it becomes your new normal instead of having that adrenaline and cortisol running your system. Your new normal will be what we walk through today with enough practice. Okay. So, want to make sure that we cover those things. It's very important to understand. So, just a few energy leaks. Actually, you know what? Let's do our auto suggestion here before we get started. I'm going to share them with you again. The next auto suggestion is I am willing to notice where my energy is leaking. I give myself permission to tell the truth about what's draining me. And you'll see you're priming your subconscious to open up and to work in your favor. And you can do this with anything. And especially in a leadership role, it really helps you get really clear on what you need to focus on. All right. So, energy leaks, it basically is decaying your energy. Energy misalignment is the number one contributor to failure, full spectrum across the board. And it manifests in so many different ways. People pleasing tasks is one. So, constantly looking at how you're making other people feel versus how it's impacting yourself. I often say codependency is a huge issue for a lot of people who self sabotage. Emotional labor exhausts your inner resources rapidly. And then any kind of chaos response you have. For instance, kind of what we were talking about earlier, and you just mentioned a little bit of it too. I noticed during some of my hardest days, I would just put my head down and like do a lot of research. But I wouldn't just pause and take a deep breath and like breathe. I always had to be doing something, right? And it's leaking your energy when you could be focusing it on something more productive. And yeah, am I saying that you shouldn't research? No, not at all. I'm just saying research during a time where it makes more sense, not when you're in a chaos response state, right? And this can manifest as also perfectionism, fear of success, negative self talk, so many different ways. These are just a few to name. I want you to write these in your journal if you are able to. You said you have your journal. Okay, cool. What am I tolerating that's draining my energy? It's the first question. What am I tolerating that's draining my energy? And then what would I delegate or detox if I trusted that nothing would fall apart? What would I delete, delegate, or detox if I trusted that nothing would fall apart? Okay. So something to meditate on. Here, let's go back. Read out a few personas. If any of these align with you, the goal here is really just to get more clear of how these patterns are showing up with you, because the more clarity you have, the less it controls you. With awareness is power, then you can reshape it. Okay, so the first one, people pleaser, prioritizing others before your own energy. There's the hyper performer, which we both just mentioned, overworking and burning out to prove worth. The controller, so needing control situations that are draining you. So much codependency there. The fixer as well, always solving others' problems, neglecting your own. The chaos craver, so finding adrenaline more familiar than peace. The chaser, seeking constant validation and struggling with setting boundaries. The over apologizer, apologizes excessively, even for things not your fault. The ghost withdraws emotionally and avoids direct communication. The over responsible, so you're carrying burdens of others and you're neglecting your own needs. And then there's the passive aggressive rebel, indirectly resists and shows covert hostility. So I don't know about you, I kind of resonate with a little bit of all of these in a way, right? Getting a clear on it has been life-changing for me, because the goal here is to hone in on whichever, just for, as an example, whichever one's kind of the top lead one. You can start there. And what's the opposite of it, right? So the chaser, for instance, seeking constant validation, struggling to set boundaries. So for the chaser, it could be finding self love, finding how to love yourself, how to pour into yourself, how to start there before you do anything. And then create boundaries for everything that you add into your life according to if it fits or flows. So the delete, delegate, detox, right? And that would be the way to kind of fix that pattern. We already did this, so we're good there. All right, let's see. The next auto suggestion, let me share this one in the chat for you in case you want to copy it. I have permission to honor my unique rhythm. I am allowed to lead in a way that energizes and sustains me. Now, I'll tell you firsthand these two things. The first time I heard someone talk about this, it completely changed my entire life. Completely changed my entire life. I think it was 2019-ish. I went to I think it was like a real estate investor event, and the guys that I met were connected with this gentleman, and I just somehow found this free event that he had. I did a speaker training with him as well. Very God focused, but just human and never really rubbed it in anyone's face. You could just tell he had like a good energy and a good heart. And so I listened. And he basically created his own coaching program to help people align with their strengths and figure out ways to manage their weaknesses. So this entire auto suggestion helps with that. And this next section is very aligned with that too. And I want to share this because it was life changing for me. You don't have to do this, but I will say to the T, that's why I'm living my life the way I am today, was because I did this exercise. He tasked everybody to ask at least, I think he said 10 people that you're closest to in your life. So friends, family, loved ones, and coworkers, ideally just people all around you in different environments so you can kind of get different perspectives, and ask them, hey, what do you think my greatest strengths are? And what do you think my greatest weaknesses are? And just that's it. But just ask them, hey, my coach Lauren asked me to do this, and just shoot them a text or call them, whatever you want to do. It depends on the person or your relationship with them. You can even send an email or a letter if you choose to. And then just have them respond back to you. You'll be amazed at what people tell you. I had so many people tell me that I was one of the strongest, I was the strongest person they knew. I was like, what? Really? It kind of like blew my mind. I was like, why? Like I didn't see it yet, right? Because I saw myself as constantly like having to work so hard for everything. So I guess I just didn't resonate with that within my own heart. But after you hear certain things a certain number of times, you start to believe it, and just for instance, I'll explain how this kind of shaped my life. After I got all the answers back, I started creating a life around that. So the goal is to look at your strengths and how can you create everything that you're doing to revolve around that, and all of your weaknesses, how can you outsource them, right? Like how can you get someone else to do the thing you don't like to do? Or how can you get rid of it altogether? And that's basically what we're doing right now. But I want you to do that exercise if you're open to it and it seems like you have a similar energy to me and you want to learn and grow. It was life-changing. I started doing a group where I was already doing research as a entrepreneur, like, and leadership, and I was like, why not share it with people? Why not help other people grow? So now, like, to this day, I still share in there daily, and if people want to engage, cool. If they don't, cool. Like, I've never really been a high pressure salesperson, but it just flowed with what I was already doing. So it's just one example, right? And I love to connect people. That's also always been something that's been a strength of mine. I'm really good at connecting people. Just on some level, it's a gift that God gave me. So starting a group like that was kind of normal and natural for me. And then like little things that I don't like doing. Maybe I already mentioned it. I'm not a big sales person. I'd rather outsource that to someone else, or like, get somebody else to help with those things. And I did for a while. And since then I've had to learn how to do and build muscles in certain ways, things that I was uncomfortable with before. And you'll learn what those things are as you go. But it's life changing and it helps you hone in your energy on the things that matter most. So then you have more clarity and space to actually just enjoy life. And then you wake up every day, you're like, wow, I could have lived like this entire time. We think we have to live by the set of rules that the world gives us, but ultimately we have the power to design our lives. So, studies show that task alignment actually increases your productivity 30 to 50%. And that's a Harvard Business Review study. The goal that I want you to do, we're not going to spend a whole lot of time here, but I just want you to at least understand what this is. The CEO energy zone is to get really clear. What are the things that you're doing currently that are life draining? What are the things that you're doing that you're like, whatever, I don't mind it, but I don't hate it? And then what are the things that are in your genius zone? Ideally, do that task I asked first, and then get really clear on the things that you're doing afterwards. So for instance, life-giving and genius zone tasks, what I'm doing with you right now, this does not feel like work to me. I love coaching. I love teaching. It energizes me. It doesn't drain me at all. And even if I had the option to outsource this, I wouldn't want to because I love it, right? Some people hate doing stuff like this and they want to hire people to do it for them. So just giving you an example. What if you honored the goal essentially is to just get really clear and everything I just said is on there. So align your tasks. Also, this is really important. Your natural biological rhythm. Since you're a female, I know you resonate with this. We have hormones that shift and change and do things, and get really clear and intentional about how you feel during that time and like book things accordingly. Schedule things that are not in alignment with how you feel during that time, right? And if you do research too, I found this out not long ago. I'm such a nerd with random things. I was doing fasting. I was doing intermittent fasting first. And then when I had PTSD, I would fast because I wanted to like help my body heal. And I did research on our hormone levels, and like there are certain times where you shouldn't fast as a female. And one of those, and I'm sharing this intentionally because it's aligned with this, it's right before your menstrual cycle. It actually spikes your adrenaline if you fast during that time. So be really careful not to do that, but just getting really clear on your natural rhythm. I had a really close friend who she would never schedule any kind of meetings before 11 a.m. She just wouldn't. She's like, nope. But she'd go to the gym at 5 o'clock in the morning every single day. Like she had her routine, but that worked for her. And she just knew my energy isn't good until that time. And I don't want to be in a state where I'm not ready for that yet. So just we're all wired differently. It's not something that I can tell you works for me is going to work for you. It's just doing some self-diagnosis there. Just really figuring that out. Yeah. I think we already covered this a bit. Identifying which tasks align with your natural rhythm. So the goal is to minimize the life draining maximum. Yeah, we already talked about that. And then categorize your daily tasks. So do the strength and weakness first, then get really clear on these, and then go in throughout your week and month. Even if you're really serious about this, you could plan out a month ahead of time what you're going to focus your energy on and just block things out. Even if that means, like, for instance, it could be something as simple as having an hour to read a book. And if you're a high performer like me, blocking out a day where you do nothing is very important. We need that at least once a week, minimum. If I do not do that, I feel it so intensely now. And it's pretty much become a habit where I just do it intuitively, but at least one day. And then you can revisit each week before that week comes and shift things accordingly. So maybe that Friday before you look at the next week, you're like, oh, I want to do this differently. And so it's not something that you can't change, but it's good to get clear on these things so you can focus your energy elsewhere, right? And as leaders, that's what we want to do the most, is not have this unnecessary energy dangling over our heads. So designing your own power plan is understanding your chaos addiction's impact on your personal energy, which we discussed. It's minimizing your draining tasks and maximizing your life-giving activities effectively, which we discussed. It's identifying and addressing your energetic leak behaviors, which we discussed, and then aligning your daily tasks with your natural biological rhythm. Okay. And this takes a bit of work, takes a bit of meditation, but I guarantee you, if you really put energy towards it, it's life changing. All right. I'm going to share our auto suggestion right before we do our visualization so you get the most out of it. And all right, auto suggestion is I give myself permission to embody a new standard of overflow. And I trust the wisdom of my body and its natural pace. All right, we're going to do our visualization. Our goal is to call back your power. We're going to anchor in our new subconscious leadership identity for you, where calm equals power and stillness equals strategy. So if you have a room in your house where you can go where it's calm and quiet, you can turn your camera off if you like, you can lay down if you like, whatever you feel comfortable doing. I'm going to get the music going. I want to make sure you can hear it first, and then I'll read the visualization out for you. You hear this by chance?
Yes.
Awesome. All right. I'm going to turn my camera off too. Close your eyes and allow your body to soft, shoulders dropping, jaw relaxing, belly unclenching. Take a deep breath in. As you exhale, let go of everything that doesn't belong to you. One more breath, and this time let your exhale carry away the need to perform, to produce, or to prove. Feel yourself arriving right here in your body, in your breath. Imagine yourself standing at the edge of a river. This isn't just any river, it's the current of your life, flowing with the energy you've given away and the energy that's ready to return. Notice the water, fast, chaotic in some places, still and serene in others. You step in, and with each step, your nervous system softens. With each breath, you call your energy back. You say to yourself, I call my power back from every place I left it, from every yes I didn't mean, from every time I ignored my needs, every calendar block that betrayed my biology. I am safe to rest. My value is not in how much I do, but in how deeply I lead. I trust myself to set boundaries that honor my energy. My calm is powerful. My presence is enough. Overflow is my new normal. Excuse me. Feel that energy spiraling inward. And you're not forcing it. It's magnetic. You're reclaiming it. Let it rise through your feet, legs, your pelvis, your chest, settling in your heart as power. Now, I want you to see the version of you in your mind's eye who leads from overflow. You're not chasing anything. You magnetize. You're not hustling. You hold. How this version of you protects their calendar like a sacred temple. Watch how they say no without fear and with knowing. Watch how their presence recalibrates every room they walk into. You are not simply becoming them, you are remembering them. Take a moment now and breathe. Inhale, I lead from overflow. Exhale, I release overgiving. Take 3 slow breaths in. Lead from overflow, I release overgiving. I lead from overflow. I release overgiving. I lead from overflow. I release overgiving. Now begin to imagine one area of your life where you will lead with this version of you. Let it become so vivid that you can see it and feel it. You hear how you speak. You can taste the air around you. When you're ready, I want you to anchor this identity of you in this state by tapping your heart. Anchor this in, this version of you. They are yours. And you can come back to this moment anytime you choose. And so it is. completed the visualization. How was that for you?
That was awesome. I really liked it. I think that that was like the best like meditation or mindfulness moment I've ever had. And I've sat in a lot with like doing interventions and things like that. I sit in interventions and stuff. So like that was awesome. I really liked that. That was really good.
I'm so happy to hear that. Mostly for you. I'm glad you felt that. And because this is going to really reset your nervous system. So that's beautiful. I'm so glad. I'm so happy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course, it's my pleasure. I'm so happy you made it. All right, so this is the end where I typically just share a little bit about me. And this is a testimonial that he's still a good friend, one of my first clients actually gave me. He said, hiring Lauren was the first step on an incredible journey that impacted me greatly. She was with me every step of the way as I traveled deep into my, pardon my French, shit, dealt with my demon. In the simplest terms, Lauren was able to accomplish what no therapist or coach had been able to do for me and to get me out of my own way. If you read this far, stop and go engage her immediately. Then buckle up for the best thing you've ever done for yourself. Afterwards, we can meet when you're smiling on the other side of your present self, and this small investment will pay off for years to come. I continue to reap the benefits and continue to work with Lauren. So grateful for his testimonial, and like I said, he's become family. He's like a family friend at this point. I also last year wrote a book, Boundaries Equal Freedom. It was one of those things, it just kind of, the whole idea, the whole movement just kind of flowed out of me because boundaries also completely changed my life. And it's something that a lot of people struggle with. And as a leader, it's something that we need to really hone in on and get really good at. So I wanted to come up with a guide to help people in the leadership role help manage their energy in that regard without feeling guilty or shame. I struggled with that for a while. So it's just my way of giving back. If that's something that interests you, just let me know. I'm happy to connect with you if you want to check out my website. It's laurenpichardo.com. There's an area at the bottom where you can just fill out a form, a way to reach you, and I'll be in touch with you. So there's not a whole lot on there, just a little bit about me, some photos of a few different speaking events I've done. I've done a lot of group coaching, just a bunch of different miscellaneous things, and just a little bit about me. But I'd be happy to connect deeper if this is something you're interested in, even if it's just getting to know you better and offering some tools. I'm happy to help as much as I can. And this is something I'd like for you to write down. Let me make sure I'm not missing another auto suggestion. Okay, let's start here. There is one more auto suggestion at the tail end. I want you to get the most out of this. I seal this experience with self-respect and clarity. And I walk forward with my energy as my guide. And there's a few more that I will share that I missed on the last section, which is fine, but I want you to get the value from that. So I'm ready to deepen my energetic alignment, and I'm worthy of tools and support that sustain my highest leadership. So this last closing commitment, I want you to write down, I'm too smart to be this tired, so I no longer, and then this will be your journal entry. This is what I want you to work on. I'm excited to see what unfolds for you. I thoroughly enjoyed our time together today. We literally ended right on time. That's wild. So that worked out perfect. One thing I wanted to share with you too, I think this is really, really important too, is value alignment. Since you showed up today, if you want to connect, I'm happy to just do a free hour session with you where I can help you get into more alignment and flow. Just let me know if it interests you and I'll send you the questionnaires to fill out. But one thing I want you to think about is value alignment is also something that should kind of be a gatekeeper. Had I known that, I wouldn't have gone through all that chaos and trouble because I would have known who I wanted to work with and who I didn't want to work with. And the best way to articulate that is pay attention to all the moments in your relationships where you get upset or hurt or upset. Underneath that, there's a core value somewhere. Like, for instance, if somebody hides or manipulates integrity, right? That's going to be a core value. Somebody was not including you and you were feeling left out, maybe community is a core value. having community and support. These are some of mine, so I'm just sharing ideas. Fun could be a core value too. Maybe you signed up for something and you're like, man, this is boring. It's just annoying because you're like, I want to learn, but like, I don't want to sit through that for like however many days or whatever it is. So maybe fun could be a core value too. So get really clear on those two. And everyone you work with, everyone you have, especially professional relationships with, but down to even intimate relationships. I obviously don't know much detail about where you're at, but it's a very good way to navigate life because it'll save you a lot of chaos. So thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate you for showing up, and I hope to hear from you.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much. I appreciate this so much.
My pleasure. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.